Welcome to the Global War Watch Network. Today, we're looking at a military decision that didn't just make a few headlines, it sent a genuine shockwave right through the Pentagon. You see, this wasn't just another arms deal. For years, the F-35 was seen as the one and only choice for America's allies. So when one of its closest partners even considered looking elsewhere, it wasn't just a surprise, it was seen as a strategic threat. And that's the real heart of this story. It's about something way bigger than fighter jets. It's about sovereignty, it's about dependency, and it's about one country's quiet decision to challenge an order that pretty much everyone had taken for granted. To really get why this was such a seismic event, we need to rewind a little and look at the relationship between the US and Canada and all the assumptions that came with it. For decades, the playbook seemed set in stone. Washington just assumed Ottawa would always fall in line. Buy American systems to keep everything neat and integrated. But then, in 2026, that assumption just shattered. When Canada started seriously looking at its own path, the shock in the Pentagon was very, very real. And this is the point you have to understand. The F-35 wasn't just marketed as hardware, it was sold as the ultimate symbol of NATO unity and technological superiority. So to question the F-35, that meant questioning the entire system that Washington had so carefully built around its allies. So, what is this system exactly? Well, it's been called a golden cage, and that's a perfect description. It's a high-tech, very exclusive club that comes with some pretty significant strings attached. This system of dependency is no accident. It is absolutely designed that way. When a country buys into the F-35 program, it's not just getting a jet, it's signing up for decades of reliance on American logistics, American software, and ultimately, American political approval. Now, here's how that control actually works. First, the software, the jet's brain. Every single critical update has to go through the US. Second, maintenance. If something breaks, you're tied into a global supply chain that's run from the States. And third, upgrades. Washington holds all the cards, deciding which allies get the newest capabilities and when. It's truly total lifecycle control. And for years, most allies were perfectly fine with this deal. Countries like Norway, Denmark, and Italy saw the prestige, and this is key, the interoperability, which is just a fancy way of saying their jets could work seamlessly with US forces. They felt that was worth the price. They bought into the system, and Canada was absolutely 100% expected to do the same. But Canada's situation is unique, and it forced them to run the numbers differently. For Ottawa, the decision wasn't about prestige. It was about the cold, hard, practical realities of defending their own massive territory. This chart just lays it out beautifully, the three things that changed everything for Canada. You've got that vast, rugged geography, you have the extreme, punishing Arctic climate, and then you have the simple, brutal math of cost per flight hour on a super high-maintenance stealth jet. These weren't minor details. For Canada, these were everything. This all led Canadian defense planners to ask a really basic question, one that every nation should ask but often doesn't. What do we actually need to defend ourselves? Not what are we being told we should want, but what do we need? So, when they put the F-35 head-to-head with Sweden's Gripen, using their own criteria, the picture changed completely. Looking at readiness for the Arctic, having true sovereign control over maintenance, and a sustainable cost for every hour in the air, suddenly the Gripen wasn't just an alternative, it was a powerful solution to Canada's unique problems. So here's the takeaway. The planners in Canada came to believe that a reliable jet they could operate on their own terms, in their own harsh conditions, was way more valuable than a stealth fighter that tied them forever to a foreign supply chain. Practicality won out over prestige. Now, this decision didn't just stay in Ottawa. It sent a shockwave across the entire world of defense alliances, and it set a powerful, and for some, a very dangerous new precedent. I mean, just look at this timeline of the fallout. In 2026, Canada simply announced an open competition, putting the Gripen on an equal playing field. By 2027, other allies were quietly taking a second look at their own deals. A year after that, the Pentagon was holding emergency meetings. The dominoes were starting to wobble. And this is why Washington was so concerned. It was never about losing a single sale. It was about the precedent. If Canada, a founding NATO member and America's neighbor, could just opt out of the system, it sent a message to the rest of the world that dependency wasn't the only option on the table anymore. And this became the question echoing through the halls of the Pentagon. The spell of the F-35's inevitability, it was broken. And now they had to worry about which other allied nation might suddenly feel brave enough to look for a more independent path. Ultimately, Canada's choice really rested on these three pillars. They chose to maximize their own sovereignty, to ensure they could control costs for the long haul, and to prioritize a jet that was genuinely built for their tough Arctic environment. It was a decision rooted purely in their own national interest. This quote just nails the whole thing, doesn't it? True sovereignty today isn't just about borders on a map. It's about having the freedom to choose your own tools and to say no to relationships that are really about dependency, not true partnership. For decades, there was an unspoken rule. You just don't stray from the U.S. defense ecosystem. Canada didn't just bend that rule, they broke it wide open. And in doing so, they shattered the illusion that there was only one path forward for America's allies. Which leaves us with this final, critical question. Canada's choice wasn't just about jets. It was about pushing back against a kind of invisible influence, one that's exerted through technology and logistics. Has this single act of defiance really turned the page for good? That's all the time we have for this explainer. If you found this analysis valuable, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, share, and subscribe. That way you won't miss what's next from the Global War Watch Network. And we honestly want to hear what you think, so please drop your thoughts in the comments below. You can also join the conversation on our social media. All those links are in the description. Thanks for watching.